All right, all right, all right. Aloha Friday, everybody. Thank you for being with me tonight. Tonight's show is about leadership and military spouse entrepreneurship, and I couldn't have picked a better guest tonight to be with me than Moni. She is the CEO of AMSE, doing great things. We're going to let her talk for a little bit. But before we get into it, get into the comment section. Start typing. Let me know where you're joining in from, how you're visiting, and any questions that you may have during the process of this conversation. I'm excited about tonight. Moni, thank you for being with me, taking this time to be with me to discuss this and this entrepreneurship of a military spouse. What a great topic, and I'm sure you're going to share that great journey.
Well, thank you. No, this is exciting. It's a great way to wrap up the weekend and kind of there's a lot of evolution going on in my life right now and my business. And so it's a really great time to kind of hop on and chat.
Great. Now, folks, if you don't know what a military spouse is, we're going to get into that and get you acquainted with that. But I'll tell you that out of all the jobs that I've witnessed in the military spouse has the hardest. We service members, we get missions and we get on these things, and yeah, some particular groups have a more dangerous job than others. But in all, the success of a family is hinged on the success of the military spouse and how we prepare them and how we set them up for success in the absence of their member, right? Their spouse, whether it's female or male. And so I want to get into that little world of the military spouse. Moni, if you could take me through what it was prior to Moni's exploration of entrepreneurship, because a lot of people have a misconception of what the military is, the military family is, especially the military spouse.
Yeah, so I've always had a connection to the military. My dad was in the Army. And then when I met my husband, we did, try to live the civilian life, but he also was a military kid. So we became active duty probably when I was 18. So I graduated from high school and my husband went right into active duty a couple months later. So before I was like a military spouse, I was a military kid, right? And the journey of a military spouse versus a military kid is completely different. As a kid, you're just, kind of worried about missing your friends when you move and trying to start a new school and always trying to fit in. And then always getting to travel and try new foods, meet new people. So that was always really fun. But being a military spouse and then having children as you progress into the military, as your husband's military career progresses, it is a lot different. There is a lot of navigation that you have to kind of learn on your own by seeking information that's not openly there for you because you don't know where to find it. So it was really hard in the beginning. I would say I was okay until I had my second kid. And then I was like, man, this really sucks. Like, I cannot work. When I do work, it's like MLMs or it's little jobs here and there that really don't take me seriously. That I knew that I couldn't, I literally went to 6 universities to get my degree because that's how much we were moving. But I did get a degree in public relations and communications from the University of North Carolina. And it was great, but I didn't get to use it because I couldn't get a job in public relations because I had to move again. So that was really hard. Probably around 2014, my husband had been in, I would say probably about 16 years. No, not 16 years. I would say like 12 years at that time. And he had just commissioned because we were enlisted prior. And I was and I talked about this yesterday in our conference. I really shared a lot of really raw truths about my journey to get me where I am, because I always get people ask me, oh, you're so successful, or you seem like you're able to navigate it. But I really and I really think it's important to share the really hard truths and parts of my journey that do not look Instagrammable. And so around that time, I was really in a space where I felt I had no identity other than being a military spouse and a mom. I was really miserable. I had 3 kids, wasn't doing anything fun. I had no vision, and I was complacent. And when you become complacent, there's something wrong. So that was around 2014, and it was just really hard. I was in a season of raising children, and my husband was in a season of, growing in his career, because at the time, and the way I grew up was, your enlisted member will work and then you'll have a great retirement. But that's not the case anymore, right? Because most families need 2 incomes to survive, even military families. People have a huge misconception that military families make a lot of money. In fact, it's the complete opposite. We're underpaid. Military member, active duty members are underpaid, like below minimum wage. I mean, it's just crazy. But people have this crazy misconception that military life, they pay for your house, they pay for this. They don't pay for anything. It usually all comes out of your paycheck in one way or another. And sometimes, like when you move, like we just moved, I had to come out of my own pocket to pay for a lot of stuff that we're not even getting reimbursed because it's not accounted for. But, military life is learning kind of as you go. You don't know what you don't know, and just pivoting and learning to deal with it. So yeah, around 2014, I was just, I was fed up. I was like, there has got to be more to life. And I've been with my husband since I was 16. So we've grown up together, like learned everything together, did everything together. And he was gone for the first time for a year. And that was a huge growing period for me, spiritually, and as far as who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And that's when I was questioning, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I think it's great that I support my military member. And like I was saying earlier, we're kind of brought up to like support them because they're going to have a retirement and you're going to be good to go and this and that. And just the times have shifted.
Right.
No longer are the days where we're just like military spouses waiting around for our spouse to come home to live our lives. And spouses like myself and other spouses in our community who are doing things that have evolved to a high level, they're paving the way and showing like you can do it alongside your member and you don't have to rely on your active duty member. So I started a little blog called Dog Tags and Heels, and I started writing and started getting paid for my writing from the military housing companies. And that just was a seed that just keeps on growing to this day.
And you mentioned something, and thank you, Doc. Alex, she's in there and saying hi. You can't see it on your end. I'm looking at it on the LinkedIn side, and she has some comments. We'll discuss that. But you mentioned, Moni, something that always strikes my heart. It always does. Every time I hear it, it doesn't matter how many years. The loss of identity. Mm-hmm. The loss of, and I almost come to tears. I gotta be careful. I almost come to tears because, if there's anything we have as humans, it's identity, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we misalign our identity for the sake of just being part, right? We see that from church, we see that from the world, we see that from military, we see that in jobs and organizations. And if there's anything we can keep and hold dear is the identity of something, right? I'm Puerto Rican. No matter what happens in the face of the earth, I'm always going to be Puerto Rican, right? Right. And to have a person that just that got married to a service member. Now, you guys came from a background, so right. you had an indoctrination, but still, it didn't really prepare you, right, for what you was gonna see. Yeah. But to lose your identity as a spouse is probably one of the most, oh my goodness, one of the most difficult times in your life, because
absolutely
you're trying to do something, but everywhere you go, you find you don't fit.
Yeah, and also like you don't even know, right? So for me, I was in the position where I just wanted, like, I wanted Roy to be successful
Right.
because his success was
Right.
my success, and it still is, and vice versa. But that's all I knew, right? Like, and that's where we have to really be cognizant. New military spouses need to understand and be made aware of that there are other things that they can continue to do, but we have to catch them young, right? And we have to be able to share that. So we had a conference this week, and one of the spouses that attended our conference, 51 years old, and she said, my husband retired and I finally get to do this. And I said, that is exactly what I'm trying to stop. Our program, entrepreneurship, small business, opportunity, and a seed should be planted when the military member comes into service.
Oh, yeah.
A spouse shouldn't have to wait 20, 25 years to have their turn. We can always have our turn, but if you don't know that those opportunities exist and you don't have the community to do it or to rely on or the places to ask questions, it makes it hard. So yeah, that identity was, I didn't realize it. I look back now and I can put my finger on it.
Right.
But at the moment, I didn't know what it was. I was just really resentful. I was kind of like in this space, like, what is my life about? What am I supposed to do? And yeah, it's really hard. And a lot of spouses struggle with identity, feelings of unworthiness, even though being a military spouse itself, just supporting the home, taking care of the children, taking care of the day to day allows a military member to stay ready for active duty, and it helps. Spouses still don't see that because they don't see it as for themselves. They see it as for helping somebody else.
And you know the difficulty in and I've mentioned this in many of the transition summits that I've been part of. When a service member enters the military, at that point they cease to exist to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The rest of the world keeps going down the road they were going, and the service member gets pulled out. So you almost get like a lottery, right? You get pulled out and you get put in this smaller world that does a lot, right? That small world of the military does a whole lot for the rest of the nation, but the world moves on. And so imagine how much, and that's why there's so many transitioning service members that are having this identity crisis after. Right? You guys go through it during, the service member goes in it after. And
Yeah,
so
it's true.
so it's a hard, it's going to be a hard thing on either side. But for you guys that are the spouses to endure that for the totality of a service, you know, I served 26 years. That's a long time for my wife to have no identity. That, I mean, and you know, that's really where I get teary, because if I think about her, you know, that's crazy. And
yeah, yeah.
So you know,
and the member's identity becomes your identity. So for the longest time, I was like, my first thing when people would say, like, what do you do? Who are you? Anything, I would just say, I'm a military spouse. It becomes your complete reason for being. And I want spouses to see that they are more than that. And there's no shame in being a military spouse. That's not the point, but that is not all that you are, you know, and being a stay-at-home mom itself is a huge role in the lives of your children and in your community and for the military member. So you're right. Like, you attach yourself to that identity for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't know what else to do. Number two, you become complacent. You feel discouraged. And so that's just kind of what happens.
And you know, there's a thing, and I'll you know, full disclosure here, from the senior enlisted side, we get to see a lot. We get to hear a lot, right? And as we're talking about identity, it gave me a little more insight. Not that I didn't have it, but it gave me a little more insight when you said, and we start to take the identity of this military spouse, our husband, our wives, right? And a lot of times you'll see that some spouses will try to use their husband or wife's rank, right? as a thing. Well, don't
Yeah.
you know I am Colonel so-and-so's wife?
I could care less.
No, but
Listen, the new spouses don't care about that anymore. They're like, I don't care who your member is. I am this person. And that's why I'm saying, like, the evolution of the military spouse in just the last 10 years.
right.
Spouses don't want it. I said, my husband's over here, but he said something the other day. I said, babe, nobody's talking about you at these meetings. Nobody wants to know your rank. Nobody wants to know what you do. And he was like, excuse me. And I mean it in the most loving way. But like when I get together with other spouses, I don't care what their husbands do because my goal is to get to know them.
Right.
But you're right. A long time ago when I was a new military spouse, I remember being at an event, probably about 15 years ago. I was at an event and everybody, like this lady showed up and everybody was like, oh, that's so-and-so. And I was like, okay. And I sat down and the lady was like, don't you know who I am? And I was like, I don't care. Like, frankly, I'm Monica. Who are you? Like, yeah. my thing is like, we're all people at the end of the day. And you're right. Some spouses have used rank. I mean, listen, I have a Facebook group that we verify if you're a military spouse. And I had somebody tell me that we're going to go tell their husband who's a commander at some base. I was like, be my guest, girl. Like, he ain't got nothing on my group. Like, I was trying to verify that she was a military spouse. And the reason we do that is because we want the spouses in our group to feel protected. And we don't have verification for a Facebook group. It doesn't work like that on Facebook. And she was like, I don't need to show you nothing. I was like, well, then I don't need to let you in the group. And then she said, well, I'm going to tell my husband he's a commander at so. I said, that's fine, honey. Be my guest. Like, once again, wearing your husband's rank or his identity. And that just doesn't fly anymore. Spouses are not in that space. We've evolved.
You know, I got Dr. Alex saying, girl, I said, Rican came right out.
The Puerto Rican did come right out.
But I tell you, you know, but, you know, talking about that and those that do tie themselves to the rank of a service member, it's because they don't have anything else.
Right.
And, you know, and so as a senior enlisted leader, I want to admonish all and just exhort all senior enlisted leaders that are out there to just take one step back when you start witnessing this and start realizing that it is the lack of identity that's causing this.
Yeah.
So let's find them their identity. Let's help them, and that's what AMSE does, right? And this is for entrepreneurship, and you know, and trying to get them to realize they have more potential than what they're realizing at the moment. And so I would like nothing better for this to be part of indoctrination to service, right? As you mentioned, this needs to happen right on the onset of a family coming in to a post where you get to brief military spouses on the potentials they have without having to go ahead and grapple over somebody's rank that they never even signed up for, right? So, so 14 years pass. You say, I'm fed up.
I'm done. Crap is for the birds, bro. Yeah, no, I came to a space, and like I said, I think, you know, I'm a believer in God or whoever you believe in. There's a reason for everything.
Right.
And I think that 1 year for me was a time to figure out who I was, what I wanted to be. I was also in my 30s. So there's like all this transition.
Oh, yeah.
My husband wasn't there. I was finding myself with a lot of time, a lot of space to think. And I realized I had attached myself to my husband's successes and made being a military spouse priority. And while I absolutely love and I appreciate that season in my life because I learned so much from it, I wanted something just like for myself, right? Something that really honed in on my skills and my purpose in life and my passion. And so I started writing. And then soon after that, we moved to Maryland. And I said, well, I'm just going to go start looking for work. It was just, and I didn't know, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't realize that the gappy resume and, you know, I was in Southern Maryland. It's not like people want to move there, you know, like, why are you here? You can't really lie. it really opened my eyes to understanding that, and I talk about this all the time, that I had to invest in myself and advocate for myself. And that's when I started to learn about military spouse unemployment. I started to learn about entrepreneurship. I started a business. This all started to really bother me. Mm-hmm. I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that you can't hire me because I'm going to move when I have some unattainable skills by some other people, because I know how to move. I can do anything. I learn quicker. I adjust quicker. There's so many things and so many skills that military spouses have that the common person does not have, because military spouses have to learn to live every place they go and learn to evolve. And so that's when I started my first business, my first full-time or boutique agency. It was a PR company called Dog Tags and Heels. And that is when I realized that nobody really cares about us. That's just how I felt at the time. I felt like I walked into the Fleet and Family Center and I said, hey, I just started a business. What resources do you have? Are there any community groups I can get involved with to help military spouse businesses? And they said to me, you can write a resume and apply for a government job. And I said, I just told you I started a business and I need support. Do you have anything in the community that can support me? And they had nothing.
Right. And before we move on to that point, Andrea McNamara's here. She's like, hey, she's wishing you cheers to your success, the success you found and champion for the entire military spouse community. And Alex is going crazy on that side. But,
I can't wait to see these comments, Alex.
She's just loving it. This is a very critical point, because at this time now, you've been writing, you're having some success there. You figure out, hey, this is a thing now. Let me go and establish this, and step out on faith, because that's what entrepreneurship is. And for all those that how you call it, Andrea knows, because she's been posting about that stuff. Dr. Alex knows exactly how it is to step out in faith and say, I can do this thing. But now you find yourself that there's no support system.
None.
And None. That has to have been deflating.
Yeah, that was in 2016. Yeah, I walked in, I called, I researched nothing at all. Like, I couldn't find anything that really helped me understand, as a small business owner, as a military spouse, the types of support and things that I needed navigating a business in different states, learning how to build it, how to make it viable, considering I was going to be moving all the time. Right. And I just went online and I started doing a lot of research and listening to YouTube and joining Facebook groups. This is when Facebook groups were like popping off. Mm-hmm. I found entrepreneurship groups. I found military spouse groups, but there was just nothing for military spouse small business owners. And that's when I created the Mil Spouse Creative and Entrepreneurship and Facebook group, really out of a need and a lack kind of myself. And I say this all the time. I figured if I'm out here, somebody else has to be having this feeling too, because I can't be alone. And that's when I started that Facebook group, and it has evolved from there. And that Facebook group saved me. It really did, because I learned from the spouses in there. I was able to hire spouses in there to help me with work, barter for work. And it really was just I always say this, like, you just have to follow your heart. And there's no money in Facebook groups, at that time. So it was just kind of following my heart. I was like, there's got to be other people, and I'm just going to bring all the people together, and we're going to do it together.
Yeah. And that's so important. Community is one of the key factors of successful entrepreneurship. If you don't know how to gain community, be part of the community, sustain a community, feed the community, get fed, right? Because it's one thing to feed the community, but some people just, oh, no, I got it. No, get fed. You putting out, get some. And community is so important. And for you to go in through this entrepreneurship route, not find that community, but say, hold up, there's more than just me. Let me create. And so what I love is that this is the third time you're creating now. Right?
Yeah.
You got a blog, you got the heels, now you got this group. So you're already in that stride of creating.
Yeah.
Once you started this evolution of community, how did that impact your perspective of and a hope for a good
Yeah.
future?
You know, for me, I started to see that other people needed more. Where I was needing, can you turn on this light for me? I sent you a text. Roy's coming down. He's going to be my audience.
All right.
No, that's too bright, babe. A little more. Sorry, guys. So when I started, first when the group would get new members,
Right.
I would be freaking out. I'd be like, oh my gosh, 5 new people want to join. Oh my gosh, 2 new people want to join. I was freaking out because in the beginning, I was having to beg spouses to come and join the group. So I had this group, I had these people coming, but like, now what was I supposed to do? Right? Like, we're in one place and now they're looking for something. They joined because they are military spouse business owners. They're looking for something. So what I started to do was more research. What military spouse business owners in our space are making phenomenal impact, that are trailblazing, that are doing things that can really give these spouses an idea, plant a seed, water a seed, ignite some energy, right? And so I started interviewing spouses in our community that were writers, that were, other entrepreneurs, that were makers or bakers. And I bring them in and interview them in the group to say, like, hey, you can do it too. And this is how you did it. So I started doing interviews. I knew nothing about interviews. Some of my interviews, you can see my husband in the back folding clothes. I'm like, what was I thinking? Those videos are all still up. If you're in the Mill Spouse Creative, you can go and watch them. There's babies running around and people yelling.
Real life, right? Real life.
Yeah, but I knew, like, I was getting all these people. How are we going to? At the time, I didn't realize I was serving them in some capacity, but I had no idea. But they were in there and they were looking and they were thirsty for something. And I wanted to bring them, I wanted to ignite some type of passion in them. And by bringing others who were already doing and them sharing was going to allow them to do that. And so originally, for about the first year, we did interviewed a lot of spouses, would be asking questions. And then by the end of the first year, I was like, something's going on here. They are working together. They're hiring each other. They're asking for support and questions. What else can I do to serve, to make a space where it's good for their time to even come and check this group? And so I started having community leaders. So I would ask spouses who were different business owners, would you be interested in taking over the week? And that was doing 2 things. So one thing I noticed when they had Facebook groups and they were doing something like this, the person who owned the Facebook was only selling themselves. They started the Facebook group to sell their product or service because it was a funnel that they were using to market their business, whatever it was. Kudos to them. But I didn't want to do that. I felt like I can get clients on my own and I have this platform. A platform is whether you have 1 or 1.9 billion people. Somebody is watching. How are you going to be the best in that platform? And so what I did was I wanted to create something for other spouses. I didn't want to just be shining on my own. I wanted to give them space. So they signed up as community leaders. They took up over the week, started to see a couple of things there. I organized it. And now, like last year, we had 97 people apply to be community leaders. And we only pick like 12 to 15 because they take over for the whole year every quarter. And we create prompts to talk about business from different angles, whether it's coaching, mental health and wellness, physical, like everything is pretty. The spouses that are in there sharing their expertise and their life with the community are really just phenomenal. So I saw that thirst, and then I had to figure out how to make it worth your while and how to not just be another community that was serving military spouses. I really wanted to be different. I really wanted to make impact.
And impact is truly the goal of all of this, right? Whether you're
Yeah.
in it for, a small business, you're looking at medium, large, taking over the world, next Bezos type. It's all about impact and
Mhm.
how, uh, and also there is a monetization side, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't do everything for free.
Mhm.
But how do you uh, manage that in a way where you can still love what you do, get
Mhm.
compensated for it? The person leaves full, right? They full and say, "Wow, that was great. I'm coming back," right? And that's the total recipe there. But impact is exactly where we want to lead all these things. So now you're looking at the success of this group. You're having an opportunity to adjust and and tweak here and there. Where did AMSE come in from that period? And did you see that coming?
No, and well, and actually, now that I look back on it, yes, I did see it coming because what I did, it was an evolution. You
Right.
know, with everything, there are milestones and different things that you
Mhm.
do, and you look back and you're like, oh, all of that was setting me up for this.
Mm,
You know, so I had two other groups that I did before. So we had the free group. And then, like you said, you can't do everything for free. So at one point, I got a strategist and she was like, well, you have this community. They love you, they engage with you. Why don't you create a membership? So I did create a membership. It was Pitch Like a PR Pro was my first membership. I had about 27 paid members, and I was doing all PR stuff. It was like, really? PR is like my whole heartbeat, like social media, public relations strategy, like all of that, public speaking. And I loved it. And I helped the 27 spouses. They were all military spouses, by the way,
right.
that joined. And it was because I had the like, no trust factor, right? I had built this relationship with them
Right.
for over 3 years. I never sold them anything. And here I am saying, hey, if you want this, it's this much every month. So there was that. And then that kind of went through and we did all that. And then I kept getting spouses who just really wanted to have a lot of one-on-one time with me to learn how I got these contracts with Blue Star Families, with all these other organizations and things like that. And my strategist was like, why don't you create another community just for the military spouses? And we called it the Mil Spouse Creative. We called it MC Insiders. So Mil Spouse Creative, MC
Mhm.
Insiders. And that evolved. But I felt like the information I was giving them was information we could give them anywhere, right? That you
Mm,
could find it anywhere.
yeah.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who is an editor at a magazine, a military magazine, and she is like, have you ever thought of being like a middleman type of agent? Because she had asked me, like, do you know a military spouse photographer in Nevada? And I was like, oh, I can just ask in my group and I'll let you know, somebody will tag somebody. And she was like, why are you doing this for free? And so that kind of started getting my wheels turning. And I was like, wait, I'm doing this here. I'm doing this here. This person made this suggestion. Okay, maybe we're on to something. And that's how AMSE evolved. It originally was, I pulled the education, the resources, the curriculum, and then I coupled it with the campaigns. And then from there, it's evolved. I really realized that the spouses wanted some deeper work to be successful and really make money. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, that's amazing how you have to have your eyes open, folks. Yeah, eyes, ears, ready to see. Hey, this thing is coming together this way. Let me structure something where we all can benefit, right? Where we all can make something out of this journey. And entrepreneurship for those, and we always know for those that are in it just for the money, good luck.
No,
We'll see you again in the other class. Right?
I know that's right.
because it just is not like that. You may have onesie twosies that go, they just, they blow up immediately. You may have those that take 5 years, do the startup, and sell great. I mean, great. They're all stories like that. But
Mhm.
for the majority of folks, this is a lifelong thing, right? If you want to be in it, and hopefully you can get to the point where you do exit and are able to just bask in the the rewards of your labor for so many years. So AMSE is born. Suggestions are made. You're piecing all these things together, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel. How how easy was it now that you had all this thing, right? Because
I'm like, wait, we're using the word easy. I don't know that that's the word, but okay.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting after, right? That's what I'm getting after. It's never easy, but how was it having all of that experience since since the moment you started doing this blog to now? How did all that prepare you, and how easy was it?
Well, it was no easy feat, that's for sure. And I'm still, and I say this to the community all the time because we have spouses in different places. We're all on the same highway. I'm just in a different lane, driving a little faster, right? I'm still learning and I'm still going and I'm still growing. So even though like the company's been very successful, especially this past year with Meta as a
Right.
big time partner and sponsor going into 2023 and 2024, like having that has been no small feat. It has taken a lot of pitching and preparation. And so I will say that a lot of my relationship, the networking that we do on social media has been impeccable. And learning when to ask, the appropriate times to ask, and when to just always be a giving person. That's something that a lot of my partners and sponsors see. They're like, you're always just giving, like you're giving, you're connecting, you're collaborating. And I always say like, there's enough for everybody. There truly is enough for everybody, and that you are unique. So you should never see anybody or anything as a competition, right? But it has totally prepared me for now. I will say like learning how to navigate a small community of, like 1,500. And now we have, thousands in our community, learning to navigate that. Learning that it's not about maybe I built the foundation, but to keep it growing, it becomes about the community and what they need for us to create to make them successful. And coming from a heart of serving, going with your gut and just really following your passion, even though like you really don't know what the reason is what you're doing, but you know that you're doing it for the right reasons because it feels good, and just moving forward. So all of that has brought me to here where we are today. And it's going to continue to take me to my life mission is to get our program on every installation in the world. And whether it's me or my children, it will happen because spouses deserve a program that helps them really grow their skills and their talents and meet them where they are in their season.
Yeah, this is such an important point. And Dr. Alice, she said 1,500 small. That's incredible. Yeah, 1,500 ain't small, but compared to what it is like today, right? In comparison, it may have been at the time. So spouses, the deserving part, we've always known that there should have always been a before thought, right? It seems to me in all of my years of service that spouses were an afterthought. And I'll tell you, when I first came in and I did marry early, one of the chiefs told me that was not issued to you in the sea bag.
Wait, go back now, Brandon.
and your husband might know about something like, right? So they told me.
What did you say?
If the Air Force wanted to issue you, if the Air Force wanted you to have a family, they would issue you one.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
So we all have a version of that, right? There's always something that the military just isn't able to grasp. Yeah. And then the funny thing is that the person that told me this had a family, so I don't even know.
What were they doing with their family?
Exactly. It told me a lot. Let's just say that, right? Tells me a lot. So the thing is that it seems like it's an afterthought. Like, oh, okay, they're there. We'll hook you up with a house, and you just leave them there while you do God's business all around the world. And so to get this at the beginning piece, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that it is warranted. It is something that is owed. I totally believe that. How have you considered the legislative side?
You know what we're doing over here.
Hey.
But listen. Like I says, I'm looking to make deep-rooted impact in our community. And some of it is with legislation. So we do have something coming out very soon. I can't say it yet, but it's very exciting. And it is going to really help us get our foot in the door and continue to move mountains or move the needle forward for things that military spouses need. So everything I'm focused on is the military spouse entrepreneur. Right. That is what my focus is, because that is my journey and I understand it to the core. And so what my goal is to make their lives, moving their businesses around easier and getting the support from state to state and through the Department of Defense a lot easier, because we deserve that, right? Yep. One of the things I find that's hilarious when I go to the bases, or my husband goes to one of his briefs when we get to a new base, he brings me this big fat folder bleeding out of all these pamphlets and papers. And I'm like, who is going to read that? Who is going to take the time to really go through and read it? And I feel like there needs to be a better way to communicate with the spouses and get them that information. On top of that, most of the information we get is very surfaced. And there's too much of it, and we don't know where to find it. But there's not enough entrepreneurship resources, tons of mental health. There's tons of, activities and all these different things that you get, but there's not a lot about entrepreneurship. And our organization's entire focus is the Military Spouse Entrepreneur program. Is created by military spouse entrepreneurs for military spouse entrepreneurs. And that's why our program is very unique. And all of the people that work for AMSE, they're all entrepreneurs. So we get it. And that's the other thing too. There's tons of programs saying that they serve us, and it's just somebody checking a box because it's a contract or it's something they were told to do, but the people don't really understand the products or services that we actually need.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that the legislative side is being addressed, and if you know anything about the government, that's where you make the most impact. When you make it something that's policy, right? Because the thing is, by virtue of the policies in service, although in 1971, like for the Navy, 1971 was the Ombudsman program, which was a great thing, but it doesn't really address the issues that come up. It's almost like a response, right? It's not preventive. It's not maintenance. It's always a response. It's too late.
At that point.
It just happened, So, Jacana, thank you for being with us tonight. She's talking about awesome. So I'm glad you guys are addressing that. Now, you just had an event, and I want to get into the things that are coming up. You just had an event. I saw your husband part of it. Good on him to get involved in that capacity. $5,000 pitch competition, folks. I don't know how many of y'all. Hey, I'll give an 8 slide brief if you want $5,000. But it's a great thing. It does help a lot. And so, what was that conference? When is it coming up again? And how can people get involved?
So we actually were supposed to have it earlier this year, but we had some great opportunities with Meta and DraftKings, and we decided that we were going to push it back, right? One of my biggest things is to put out quality content and information to our spouses instead of quantity and like hurrying up and rushing it to get done. So we just had the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneur Conference, and the entire focus was to help military spouses actually make money with strategies and skills and experts who came in to really teach them a lot of these different types of concepts and ideas. And it was 2 days. We had the pitch competition and we gave away $5,000. So I'm really excited that we were able to do that. And during the competition, I literally almost teared up. I was like, I get it. because I'm out here pitching all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
For my company and for, to fleeing families and to get our program and, doing all these things. And so when they were pitching, it just came full circle to me to be able to give somebody money, even if it was 5,000 or 50,000, just to be able to do that. It was really full circle for me because I know how it feels to be blessed with money that you weren't really expecting, but for somebody to bless you based on your purpose and like your pitch. So I had a couple of really soft moments during this event, because it was a really intimate event. A lot of feedback, a lot of people were sharing their stories, and it was great. So we'll have it again next year. So you can stay tuned for that information. We'll be sending out emails and just check our social. There's a lot of ways different people can be a part of it, not only as a military spouse to attend, but organizations who want to collaborate, who want to give donations, who also maybe have a great discount that would benefit a military spouse in their business journey. So there's tons of ways to get involved.
I love, and I could envision the soft moments, right? From somebody, and as we've talked during this last 47 minutes, from someone that lacked identity to having someone getting paid because of their identity. Yeah. It's and that's a beautiful thing. So congratulations on being able to see that come to pass. Now you mentioned Meta, you mentioned DraftKings. These things don't come very easy. And so how did that relationship evolve to the point where now they're sponsoring your events?
Yeah. So, I always say this all the time. It's about networking and really making sure that you are coming from a place of purpose and intention when you talk to people. So DraftKings initially sponsored us in 2021 during Women's National Women's History Month. Mm-hmm. And then they came back to me and they were like, we really love the work that you're doing and the impact that you're making nationwide. And of course, they sponsored us again. So that was just, and what we do is we just over deliver. And what I mean by over deliver is we are always giving information about how their scholarships are blessing our spouses. So we're always talking about them. We're sharing their information actively and just keeping them involved. I mean, DraftKings is a large company. It's not like they have time to chit chat every day, but they're pretty incredible and they're always encouraging. Right. And they are the type of partner that wants to have a fruitful long-term relationship to continue to see our works come to pass. Yeah. And by them doing that allows us to continue our work with legislation and all of that. So right. That's been really great. And then Meta also came from a networking type of thing where, somebody knew somebody and they made an introduction and then I took it from there. So, that's why I say like your network is really your net worth and you have to be really diligent and very strategic in what you're sharing and putting what you need into the universe, right? Or explaining what you do into the universe very clearly so that when there's an opportunity and he can refer me or I can refer him because I know this, what he does. But if nobody knows what you're doing or what you provide, there's no way that can grow. So.
That's right. Yeah, folks, it's not just planting seeds. You got to work that ground.
Yeah.
You can plant seed all you want. I did it the other day, and that seed was still there because I didn't take care of the ground. You have to, right? You have to put in the work. Your hands got to get to the plow. You got to cultivate. You got to build a relationship, build the environment, and things will come, but they do not come easy, right? I think we established that. And so, you get to this a point where you are running a great organization. I've had several of the military spouses on the show. For those of you that are looking to see, go look at my YouTube channel. On the live section, you'll see all of the videos of the military spouses from AMSE that have been on the show. Been great to host them. Now, you have this event coming up. If there is a military spouse out there that has been out there floating and they've heard this, they want to get in touch with you, they want to get in touch with AMSE and get involved in the entrepreneurial journey, how would they do that?
So first I want to say, let's just say you don't know, you're not an entrepreneur. Maybe you have an idea or you don't really understand what entrepreneurship was. I couldn't call myself an entrepreneur probably for 3 years because I felt so embarrassed that I felt I wasn't successful. So maybe you have an idea, maybe you don't know how to even get started. AMSE, which is the Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs, is for you. We are your place to get started. We will help you navigate you through your business idea. We are here for military spouses starting, scaling, or sustaining businesses. And our program is online. We also have chapters, so spouses can join chapters all over the country. We're looking to expand more, but we're being really strategic where we plant the chapters because we want to see them grow.
Right.
So you can find us at amseagency.com and get more information on our entire organization. If you want to become a member, you go to amsemembers.com. We do the GovX verification to make sure you're a military spouse. It takes you to an online platform where you find all of your downloads, printables, Slack channel, like everything you need to run a business is in that portal.
Now, I was just thinking about this. Does that include veteran spouses?
We have this question all the time. So this is what I say. Once a spouse, always a spouse. Whether you're divorced, retired, reserve, National Guard, active duty, Air Space Force, once a spouse, always a spouse. Because in one point in your journey, you endured hardships in having a career.
Yeah.
And so this is the space for you.
Outstanding. Well, folks, you heard it here. You've been there. You're available. You have an opportunity. So Doc Alex says, can you send me the info? I'm going to put all the info and all the links in the comments post this live. So you'll be able to see it on the replay. But I will put it in there, and so you guys can get a hold of the organization and get started. There is no time like now, folks. You know, we just came from a 3-year period where everybody was lost.
Yeah,
right?
couldn't do anything.
Right. And so now is the time, even in the midst of a financial kind of shakeup, now is the time because you can't regain yesterday, right? You got to do it now. So, Moni, thank you so much for being with me tonight. I know this is the start of your weekend. So I'm going to let you guys enjoy that. My regards to your husband and family. Folks, I'm going to put those links in there. Make sure to reach out to Moni and her company. They're doing great things. Thank you, everybody that has been with us. Dr. Alex, Jaconda. We're looking at, let me roll through here.
No, I can't wait to see these comments so I can start connecting.
And so thank you for being with us tonight, folks. Have a great weekend. Mahalo for being with us. And we will see you next Friday where we have another member doing great things in our community. Aloha, everybody.